We got some very interesting things that we want to share with everybody. Those of us who are in that baby boomer category, we need to know. We need to know whether there's something that we can do, some action that we can take personally that can make a difference in our lives. And that's why we're here. And I applaud you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come to a presentation like this. The presentation, and maybe I'm going to show you the screenshot right now and then give you our disclaimer so we can get started. Because you want to know, you just want to know. Some people just want to get to the bottom line, Bernard. They want to get to the bottom line. They want to know, tell me what to do. What tree can I go and pick some fruit off of, and that make the difference in my life? How can I do something different? Well, I can just tell you the clue is on the screen right now. And that's kind of a little bit of a drawing there that someone did showing this woman pulling the clock backwards. But you see Dr. Prasad's pictures on that screen, and there's a reason for that. Dr. Prasad is a brilliant man. He's in his early 90s now, and his brain has not stopped. He's still producing brand new research. He's still being published to this day. Now, you just put that in perspective. I'm not a scientist or anything, but I've never been published, not even once. And I've heard doctors say that if you have lived if you have been published at some point in your life. And that's every doctor's aspiration, is to be published. And one day I hope to at least be on a paper with Dr. Prasad on an observational study. That's it. That's about as far as I'll get. But this man is still being published over and over and over again in his early 90s. The information we're going to pass on to you today is part of his research that Dr. Prasad has done that's been published, peer-reviewed publications, showing exactly very specific things, simple things that you and I can do to slow the aging process down. But you see the disclaimer on the screen. The FDA has not evaluated these statements. Testimonials that you're going to hear are anecdotal. Results are atypical. That simply means that what happens to one person may or may not happen to you. We have to tell you that by law. Are we confident that these products make a difference in people's lives? Absolutely, we are. And the testimonies you're hearing are firsthand, not coached, not rehearsed. And some of you on this presentation right now, may have a story that you would like to share, showing some indication that aging process has been slowed down for you. But the Healthcare Support Association of America, Engage Global, Dr. Prasad, I'm Jonathan Jones, and none of our hosts or co-hosts, no authorized representatives making any claim that any of the supplements that we talk about are a treatment or cure for any disease state. Only the government can do that, by the way. This presentation is for information and educational purposes only. It's not intended to be a substitute for a visit to your primary healthcare physician. We strongly recommend that you seek the competent medical advice of professionals that you trust. And but you know what? I think I'm going to do this. I think I want you to hear this story before I tell you a little bit more about Dr. Prasad, because I think this testimonial, and Bernard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this testimonial really does start to lay the foundation for what happens as we begin to age. Because again, the aging process is just it can be quite debilitating, and no one likes it. No one likes the aging. No one likes to have what they call I call it sometimers, and that's an affectionate expression, but there's nothing affectionate about it, because the truth of the matter is, no one likes to walk into a room and have no idea why you came into the room. You know how that is, right? And then you have to turn around and go back out and try to figure out what it is you came in the room for. Well, that happens. It happens to a lot of us, so don't feel bad. But no one enjoys that. No one enjoys that experience. Nobody wants that to happen. So let's see if we can get this little experience, this little testimonial to play, because that's what happened to this woman when she told her story. She tells a little bit more graphic than I just described, but you'll get the point once you hear it. And this was, again, not solicited. She just decided she wanted to tell her story. So you decide for yourself whether it has the ring of truth to it or not.
Met Beth,
okay?
Years ago, she was so sick. I didn't know what to think. I thought she was leaving here. And when I reached out to her on behalf of someone else's loss, she sounds so good, and she started telling me about the products. When I spoke with her, I was so impressed, and I couldn't sleep. But when I started taking the products, I noticed with taking the hydro, I had so much energy. I felt so much better. And for me, in 2020, I had a stroke. I wasn't able to work. I had so much brain fog. Anytime I drove, I would get lost. I would have to have people to help me in the conversation so that I would know exactly where I was in the conversation. But now we're taking the brain boost, the hydro, the eye products. I am so excited. I can speak to anyone, hold conversation. I can go any place I want to. I'm loving what God has put before us. Knowledge and wisdom that God has given man to bless us to have these products. I'm thankful for every testimony. I'm thankful for how good Beth looks, how she feels, and how she's caring about other people so that they can feel as good as she does. And I'm telling you, previously, months ago, I couldn't have a conversation like this. I would not know where I was in the conversation. I constantly had to call my husband and tell him I'm lost. I'm out. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. And this is places that I've driven for years. I even Googled one time how to put my wedding rings on. I forgot how to put them on. I'm so thankful, Jeff. Thank you so much for all that you've done. Thankful for this opportunity to share with other people that need to hear that God has something that will bless our health. Thanks, Beth.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would say that that was a pretty amazing story overall. But the story wouldn't have much of a foundation to it if it was not for the science that this man right here has produced. And that's why I thought it was good to just put that out there, because Dr. Prasad is the reason why she could make those statements. I'll just tell you one personal experience. I have a friend of mine that just recently had a heart attack. And after she came out of the medically induced coma, she was intubated. I went and visited every day for about 3 or 4 days while she was in the intensive care unit. And after a while, she was turning in my direction and hearing what I was saying, but not responding very well. Eventually, she blinked her eyes hard on command. So her brain was all starting to come back and everything was coming back. But 2 or 3 days later, even after we had a conversation, long conversation, the next day or two, she had never seen me in the hospital before. She had no idea whatsoever that I was there. But one thing she did remember almost right away is she asked her husband where was her microdaily. She wanted to know about that, and he was getting it into her as much as he could, because in intensive care they watch everything. But he decided he was going to give it to his wife. And just a few days later, when they moved her into a regular room, she was remembering every single thing, multiple conversations. In fact, I was in a conversation with her. My wife, Joanna, was in the next bed over talking to another person there that she'd met for the first time. The following day, she related everything that I had said to her, but she was also simultaneously listening to the conversation in the next bed over. So her memory function had recovered quite well. And again, this would not be worth the conversation were it not for the science behind this man right here, Dr. Kedar Prasad. Dr. Prasad was the world's first radiation biology PhD. His products have been awarded some 10 US patents. So you think about that. This man has come up with, at least so far, 10 formulas that are completely unique and worthy of being patented. The government has awarded him more than $12 million to do research. In fact, part of the research that he did with the United States military was to produce the product, military micronutrient formulation. And that was the culmination of decades of research, because the military wanted a product that was going to help optimize the health of the soldiers on the battlefield. This is the only man that stepped up to produce that formula. All the vitamin companies were invited to participate in that. But nobody wanted any parts of that. They didn't want any parts of something that was really, to be quite frank with you, was not going to be a big money maker. And that's really what it all boils down to. It's about revenue for the most part. And I'm not saying that all professionals and vitamin companies are only concerned about making money. But the truth of the matter is, most of them are owned by the pharmaceutical industry, and it does not benefit them to have people not dependent upon their products. That's the whole point of it. But Dr. Prasad stepped up and said, no problem, I can take care of this. I can formulate this product, and he did. And it went through years of rigorous testing and passed the military's IRB, the Internal Review Board, and was eventually approved for human consumption. It was never intended for civilians like us, but it was primarily for the military. But anyway, Dr. Prasad was the one who discovered the anti-cancer potency of vitamin E succinate. To me, it was a miracle to find out that there was more than one type of vitamin E to begin with. But he knew that, and he identified which one of the many different types of vitamin E happened to be cytotoxic to cancer cells. He also discovered that butyric acid is an anti-cancer agent. He was a professor at the University of Colorado School of Medicine for some 30 years. But you drop down to the bottom where his works are indicated there. You see those works? This man has authored or co-authored 33 books. I think that's really 35, to be quite honest with you, and close to 300 peer-reviewed publications. It says 250 here, what's in writing, but he has been published multiple times since this document here was produced. He just sent me a preprint just a couple of weeks ago of another paper that he's being published on. You'll find references to this man's work some 450 times in PubMed. That's the official library of published articles in this country. So Dr. Prasad is really a big deal, is the whole point of this part of our discussion. And all of that was just to lay the foundation. This is just some of the books that he's written. To introduce to you this topic right here. This is one of his published papers. All right. The title on the left side is very comprehensive, and I think it's kind of a title that a scientist would write. But the idea was for it to specifically describe the function of his research. His research is entitled "A Micronutrient Mixture with Collagen Peptides, Probiotics, Cannabidiol, and Diet May Reduce Aging and Development of Progression of Age-Related Alzheimer's Disease and Improve Its Treatment." Okay, now that's an anti-aging publication. All that to say, I figured out a way to slow down the aging process. Now, his paper was very sciencey and very, very geeky. He put together a PowerPoint presentation that was kind of reads like the Yellow Pages. No, not the Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages would be more interesting, the White Pages. And for those of you who are too young to know what the Yellow Pages and the White Pages are, those were books. That's how we used to look up the names of people and places that we want to go. You had to go to a book. A book is, one of those things you open up and you flip through the pages to actually see what's printed on them. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I just had to throw that in there. But the White Pages was extremely boring. It just had information on a white page with black lettering. But Dr. Prasad's, the content was off the Richter scale in value, folks. Off the Richter scale in value. He summarized this. Look at the chart. The longest age expectancy is in Europe, between 82 and 85 years. Japan is right smack on the top end of that. The lowest end of life expectancy is over in Africa. Starvation is kind of prominent in some parts of Africa, unfortunately. The average income over there is less than $1 a day, $1 a year. Anyway, it's a ridiculously impoverished areas, places in Africa, so life expectancy isn't very high. But what would you expect for the United States of America, the richest country in the world? You would expect that maybe it would be among the highest, but it isn't. It is not. A huge percentage of the planet has a higher life expectancy than the United States. And the reason for that is because no matter how much work that they do, no matter how much research they come up with, no matter how many new drugs they come up with, there's still a very poor quality of life expected with for seniors. The National Council of Aging has said that 80% of all seniors have at least one chronic disease. 77% have two chronic diseases. But Dr. Prasad, in his paper, that was the introduction in his paper, by the way. He said the question arises whether it's possible to have a long lifespan with a good quality of life. And his entire paper suggests that it's possible to achieve this. This is, again, Dr. Prasad's published paper. And he indicated this, which I felt was kind of interesting. He zeroed in on Alzheimer's because he said 80% of dementia is associated with Alzheimer's disease. And in conversation with him, he said that if they could identify the particular cellular defect that starts the process toward Alzheimer's disease and can ameliorate that, that could in turn indicate how to slow down the aging process. And they used laboratory mice to do that. That was the basis for the whole thing. But Dr. Prasad in his paper went on to say that despite the extensive research, the incidence of Alzheimer's disease is increasing. Statistically, 2021, 500,000 new cases diagnosed, 6.2 million suffer from this disease. The cost, $355 billion annually for treatment of Alzheimer's disease. Except for modification of diet and lifestyle, there's no biological preventive ideas. Nothing. When a person is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the only question is, what are they going to do to try to take care of the person? How are they going to provide for them? Who's going to be the primary caregiver? What would be the facility if the family was into that this person was going to be cared for? It's a very horrible, horrible way to die. The effectiveness of current drug therapy lasts for, on average, just 3 months. 3 months' time is the current treatment. People with Alzheimer's can live for many years. So, the conclusion of this slide, the question arises whether it's possible to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease and prolong the effectiveness of the current treatments. Dr. Prasad's research suggests that it is possible to do that. It is very possible to do that. And before I give you a summary of the rest of his paper, right along the same line with Alzheimer's disease, especially if you're here for the first time, we applaud you for coming to this presentation. By the way, I forgot to mention what date it is for the record. Today is July the 28th, 2024. But I applaud you all for taking the time to come to this presentation. But I want you to hear this one story. This woman had been suffering with Alzheimer's for many years. I think she had been at least 10 years with Alzheimer's. And she began taking some of Dr. Prasad's formulas, the very formulas I'm going to be telling you about, that's written about in his paper. And listen to how her daughter describes what happened with her mother, okay? So let's see if we can't get this to play. I'm going to show you the video at the same time.
Michi, tell us
audio in a second.
Tell us what's the rest of your name, Michi, if you don't mind.
Morris.
Okay, Michi Morris. Well, it's nice to meet you, Michi Morris, and thank you so much for being willing to tell us whatever it is you have to tell us. So we're looking for all ears.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity, or space rather. It makes it even more special. I had no idea this is what the topic was today, Alzheimer's. I had no idea.
The brain, the brain. So we're talking about the brain. So go ahead.
The brain, yeah. So my husband just, was inviting me through Rob. I really don't personally know him, but I know we started with the products. And the collagen, I started my mother on the collagen, I think last Tuesday is when we received it. Now, my mother has been diagnosed with the Alzheimer's for, I guess, about 10 years. So no focus. 10 years, yes. So no focus, just kind of staring. She's 86 years old. So she's just basically kind of staring. Sometimes we put on gospel music. She'll kind of move her head, that type of thing. Sometimes I'll tell her an old story about her grandmother and she may give a laugh. Other than that, no, she can still walk on her own, that type of thing. But I started the collagen on last Tuesday. And on top of that, last Thursday, she was diagnosed with COVID. And so she had a lot of mucus. Yes. So she had a lot of mucus on her chest. So we received the products. I started giving her collagen in her Ensure, because that's the only way, even her medicine, she just, she chews them. So I started putting it in her Ensure and sometime in the cereal. And then the brain boost, I only gave her about 2 brain boosts because my brother is dealing with pancreatic cancer. So my first order, I wanted to send that over to him and get him going right away. So it was round about this week. I think it was round about Friday. We was taking her, on her daily walks. She had more clarity. She was pushing her walker. The neighbors was like, we haven't seen her in a while, and they was calling her name. And she stopped and turned around and waved to them.
Oh my.
And she had not done something like that in 2 or 3 years. And her foot that she was dragging, she was able to keep up with her walker. And then I think it was that Friday morning when I put her in the shower, which she has to lift her leg over the tub. And so I shared with her, I said, why don't you try and wash your face with the washcloth? And this is something she has not done in 2 or 3 years. I would have to bathe her. And just with that one prompting, she started washing her face, and she continued to wash her neck, and she continued to wash her body. And I'm like, whoa. And then when I went around to pick up and get some more soap, she had stepped out of the tub on her own, 1-2, without falling. And I'm like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, hold up. And the only thing I noticed, and it's been different things. I've called my brother after that, and she said, good morning. She said, good morning to him. She had not said anything like that to them in 5 years when they would call. And then last night, my husband and I was going to bed. He's online, and she goes, y'all, I'll see you. She has not had a sentence of 4 or 5 words like that in years. And I'm like, what is going on? Could this be? So the only thing I know is the collagen I've given her for about 7-8 days. She missed 2 days last week. And this morning I did not give it to her. I gave her the brain booster, and she only had about 3 brain boosters. Oh, wow. So that's the only thing other that I've noticed I've been doing. So
I'm
different. Yeah.
I'm speechless right now, Michi Morris.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. That's remarkable to hear, and I think everyone right now is stunned. We not a single one of us doubt the man, Dr. Kedar Prasad. Not a single one of us doubt him, and not a single one of us doubt him as a scientist, and not a single one of us doubt David Nemelka for choosing to.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of that's one story. Now, Michi Morris went on to tell us a lot more about her her mother. She came back on about a month later and gave us an update on her mom, and described her mom reached the point where she was literally crawling across the bed, straightening up her own bed. She was saying, she put together 2 sentences. But I've lost contact with Michi Morris here lately. She was not my personal client, so I can't tell you what the story is at this point. But about a month or so after that, she came back to tell us that her mom had made further progress. Now, when I asked Dr. Prasad about this, Dr. Prasad said a couple things. You'll see reference in his paper about beta amyloids. You'll see reference in his paper about oxidative stress in just a moment. But that there's a stem cell, he said, that's left even after the neurons are destroyed by beta amyloids. There's a stem cell that's left behind, and it can regenerate. So evidently, we could potentially have been witnessing some regeneration of stem cells even after those neurons had been damaged. It's actually kind of mind-boggling to contemplate that anything can have that impact on a person neurologically. So here in his paper, he talked about cellular defects associated with the aging process. And I mentioned to you just a moment ago, this thing about beta amyloids. Well, there it is as part of his discussion. Increased oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, impaired DNA repair capacity, shortening of telomeres, autophagy defects, impaired immune function, loss of collagen and elastin, changes in composition of intestinal flora in favor of harmful bacteria, increased production of beta amyloids, and so on. That's all part of the progression of the aging process and cellular defects associated with Alzheimer's disease. He comments on oxidative stress and what that actually means. The body's antioxidant system has been overwhelmed. Free radicals impact the body. We get that from the water we drink. We get that from the food that we eat. We get that from the air that we breathe. Life itself creates oxidative stress. Very damaging, especially if it happens in the brain. And Dr. Prasad has said that the brain is the highest consuming, the organ that consumes the highest amount of oxygen. Hence, high levels of oxidative stress take place in the brain. Then he goes on to describe chronic inflammation and all of the issues associated with that. I thought it was kind of interesting. The brain, he said, has its own immune system, and it has its own cytokine response mechanism. But anyway, the whole process creates oxidative stress and causes free radicals and damage in the brain. The part that I thought was the most distressing was this whole thing about beta amyloids, because it agreed with a statement that Dr. Nakuzi said to me one day. He said the key to avoiding this Alzheimer's is to remove this waste product, this beta amyloid. It has to be detoxified from the brain. Otherwise, it can do damage to neurons, specific neurons in the brain that leads to that are damaged. If they're damaged, memory's gone, and it leads to dementia and eventually leads to Alzheimer's disease. So how to reduce the oxidative stress? Because remember, this is the genesis of it all. The beginning of it all is oxidative stress. So Dr. Prasad's paper centers around simultaneously reducing oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Simultaneously, not either or, but at the same time. And that's where the difference is between every single other treatment that's out there right now. Dr. Prasad recommends simultaneously elevating antioxidant enzymes and dietary and endogenous antioxidant compounds. He says that's an essential element to reducing oxidative stress and chronic inflammation at the same time. It's doing it all at once. What's he talking about here? Antioxidant enzymes and endogenous antioxidant compounds. Very simple. It's N-acetylcysteine is one of the main ingredients in microdaily. N-acetylcysteine elevates glutathione levels in the body. Glutathione in the body is the body's master antioxidant. So not only by means of microdaily are we consuming antioxidants, that's this elevation of antioxidant enzymes he makes reference to in his paper, but we're also raising endogenous or antioxidants components that's made by your own body, glutathione. Microdaily does that at the exact same time, thereby reducing oxidative stress and reducing chronic inflammation simultaneously. It's a powerful 1-2 punch. So all previous studies have been done, as Dr. Prasad says here, by a single antioxidant, and it has no effect. It does not accomplish that. Microdaily does it also by activating NRF2. NRF2 is very important to improving or retaining the length of telomeres which is part of our DNA, which is a signaling component to aging. So microdaily does what it does there. But the whole point that he also mentioned about the gut is intestinal dysbiosis. That's where this probiotic boost comes into play. Probiotic boost is phenomenal because it restores the composition of intestinal flora in favor of beneficial bacteria and reduces the population of the harmful bacteria in the gut. His probiotic is outstanding because he put in there all the acid-resistant strains of bacteria and the heat-resistant strains of bacteria. So that means then that basically you don't need to have as many. I was in my training, I was taught that you need to have 50 billion international units of bacteria per day to maintain a healthy microbiome. But with Dr. Prasad's, you don't. You don't need to have in the billions. He's got hundreds of thousands of strains of bacteria per capsule. It's because they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They make it to the point that they're supposed to make it to. And they do it quite effectively. You might have heard Michi Morris making reference to collagen. Dr. Prasad's paper included comments about collagen peptides. So microdaily EMF improved the immune function, DNA repair capacity, reduced the attrition of telomeres, which are unique to aging. Okay, so that's important. Then he goes on and makes this one comment in there that collagen peptide will restore the loss of collagen and elastin. Those are completely unique to aging. His collagen peptide is very unique because it also has enzymes that stop the components that stop the enzymes that cause us to lose collagen as we get older. So Dr. Prasad's collagen peptide, his formula is unique. It's patented also and quite unique. So I'm not going to touch on that, but here's the only other one that I want to touch on in his paper right now is this part about the brain boost. Because remember when I asked Dr. Prasad that question about how it is that Michi Morris's mom could begin to regain neurological function again? He said that research indicated that the stem cell in the neuron was still there and it could actually regrow. Well, in his brain boost, he's got components in there that literally feed neurons. All right. Notice what he says here. Microdaily EMF and brain boost would reduce the production of beta amyloids. So that's what's doing damage to the neurons in the brain, and which it says here generates beta amyloids, which is the bad part about the brain. Aggregated beta amyloids, here it is. Aggregated beta amyloids cause death of the cholinergic neurons by generating free radicals. Microdaily and brain boost would protect the cholinergic neurons, okay? And this is all in Dr. Prasad's paper. So these are direct quotes from Dr. Prasad's paper. Protect the cholinergic neurons, reduce the toxic effects of the aggregated beta amyloids, and in combination with drugs may prolong the efficacy of drug therapy with Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so in a nutshell, Dr. Prasad is saying that his components, microdaily and brain boost, could have a very positive effect on the brain. And when I asked him outright, would this then in effect be food for those neurons? His answer was yes. So it's like it feeds those stem cells in the brain. Microdaily, of course, is reducing the oxidative stress and the inflammation in the brain, and neutralizes the collagen daily is also part of this, neutralizing the harmful effects of the beta amyloids. Again, all of this is all in Dr. Prasad's paper, very detailed out and very sciencey lingo. So Dr. Prasad is a nerd of the highest level, and that's a nerd in a good sense. He also mentioned that in his paper that CBD boost could also help because this helps to deal with and ameliorate the anxiety. But I thought it was kind of interesting that he actually made a comparison here to things like Prozac and Zoloft. That's commonly used when it comes to treating Alzheimer's disease. And if you do your research on that, you'll see that there's tremendous amount of side effects associated with not just those, but most pharmaceutical drugs. and leads to all kinds of things: sleep disturbances, psychosis, hallucination, and delusion. But the side effects of these treatments to try to reduce that is pretty bad. But with CBD, it has been shown to improve the same symptoms we're describing, but with no toxicity. And that's the key: no toxicity. So Dr. Prasad recommends CBD Boost CBD Boost along with the other components suggested when dealing with slowing the aging process down. Okay. So he also has since recommended omega-3 daily, tremendously good for the brain and for the heart. Just told you about micro daily. And that's just, again, that's a summary of improving the treatment of Alzheimer's disease with Dr. Prasad's supplements. That's a summary of that part of it. There's a whole nother half of Dr. Prasad's paper that we just don't have the time to even touch on it today. So maybe at a future date, we'll go into the other part of it. That will help with the prevention. He goes into further detail as far as the treatment side of it is concerned. But I mentioned to you just a few moments ago how this micro daily has an impact on endogenous antioxidants. And there it is. You can see it right there in the ingredients in Dr. Prasad's formula. That's the N-acetylcysteine I told you about, or NAC. NAC. NAC is the third part of a tripeptide that leads to your cells making glutathione. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. The master antioxidant makes all of the antioxidants work properly, large amounts of it in the brain, and along with all the other antioxidants that Dr. Prasad put in this formula, very specific ones too. And let me just remind you of the one thing that he discovered is cytotoxic to the brain. There it is, vitamin E succinate. He put that in here. I mean, not cytotoxic to cancer cells. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and has a very, very positive impact on the brain, besides all the oxidative stress reducing components of this product. The other thing I like about this product also is the B9 and the B12. These are extremely important when it comes to the central nervous system, folks. And the central nervous system is very much under attack, especially when they came out with the treatment for COVID and the prevention of COVID, so-called prevention for COVID. The side effects of that included things that could have an impact on the central nervous system. So I think it's very important to make sure that this is in the body. And there's also some other papers too, by the way, that indicate that CBD, glutathione, and N-acetylcysteine all bind to spike protein. So that's just a sidebar to just let you know the other benefits of Dr. Prasad's products. Told you about the probiotic boost already. This is not probiotic boost, it's probiotic daily. We need to change the name of that because it's a daily product. You want to just take one of these a day. That's all you need. And it adds into your diet all of the necessary essential bacteria that would improve your intestinal, your gut biome and improve the dysbiosis. If it's out of whack, it'll put it all back in order. And for seniors, we all know what that means, getting our gut in order. This is still one of my favorite products out of all the ones that Dr. Prasad has produced, is the Collagen Daily. And once again, folks, this is patented. And I just recently received this patent. It was awarded by the United States government. And it is very much unique. There's no other collagen peptide like this anywhere in the world, so as far as I know. And I think that's just outstanding. And I think everyone needs to add this to their diet, because our body is made up of collagen. It's everywhere in the body, and critically important, not just to our brain, but to every component in our body and our joints. Outstanding for joint health and joint pain. Collagen peptide. Love it, love it, love it. Told you about the omega already, but here's the bundle. Here's the bundle that you want to take a good look at when it comes to slowing down the clock. Dr. Prasad's recommendation is the core 4. These all put together were all written about in his published peer-reviewed paper. published scientific paper on anti-aging, slowing down the clock. Get this on subscription. That's the way you want to buy it. It's the best way to buy it. And just to give you an idea of the pricing on it, let's see if I've got the pricing. Oh yeah, here's the pricing. These are just a couple of other products too that would be great for anti-aging: the digestive boost and the sleep boost, outstanding. But let's talk about the core four. If you were to buy each of these individually, they will cost $310. If you became an affiliate with the company Engage Global that manufactures these products, which I am, you get a 25% discount on it. And that would make these four items cost about $230, somewhere in that area. But Engage Global and Dr. Prasad has subsidized our anti-aging process. And you literally can put this on subscription, and not just for 1 or 2 months, but for perpetuity, receive it for $199.99. So that's an extra $25 off. It's like getting the shipping free and a $10 rebate all at once. So this, I think, is the best way to go. So my recommendation is in line with Dr. Prasad's recommendation, is to try this for 90 days and just see where it takes you. Michi Morris's mom benefited within the first week or two. I can't remember the woman's name, Carmen, I think is her name, that had the memory issue at the very beginning. I don't think she said her name, but just thinking back in the past, her name was Carmen with the memory issue. She noticed it in a very short period of time as well. And most of us have seen the benefits of these products, and I take them all every day. My wife loves them. My mother-in-law, she's 93. She's taking all of the products that Dr. Prasad has formulated as well. I think my mother-in-law is going to make it to 103, to be quite honest with you folks, because we thought we lost her about 20 years ago. And but since she's been on Dr. Prasad's product, especially since then, in the past, 10 years or so, this company's been around about 12 years, but I wasn't able to get her to start taking it consistently, except within the past 5 or 6 years or so. But this month, Engage Global is also giving an additional product for free if you subscribe to the Core 4. So get on the phone tomorrow morning and call up. You get with the person who invited you to this discussion, and they can call it in for you. So you don't have to make the phone call. Just talk to the person who invited you. And if you do decide to subscribe for the Core 4, they're also going to give you for 1 month the digestive boost for free. Now, we have had some people that say that I just can't afford $200 a month. I'm sorry, I can't do it. It won't work for me. That's fine. We understand. We'll cut that in half and just go with the basic bundle here. So as a very minimum, if you want to even put a dent, a scratch on the anti-aging process, you want to go with this as a minimum. Micro Daily and the Probiotic Daily. And when you get them on subscription, it's only $110. So that knocks off about $100 from the previous bill. But I'm just telling you, the two products that you're leaving on the table will cost a whole lot more than $100. So I think that's a big mistake. And I think that if you have to just borrow that money and maybe even go into debt for a month or two, it would be worth it to get that. You can add any of the other products to your subscription. If you add this to the subscription, it's only $40. If you add the Brain Boost to your subscription, I think the same thing, it's about $40. If you add the Omega to your subscription, I think that's a little bit more. And I think the collagen would be about $65, $66 if you add that to your subscription. So the bundles is the best way to go. And I told you 2 of them. And basically the Core 4 at the top is $200. And the basic bundle at the bottom is $110. So those are the 2 that you might want to give some serious consideration to. You can always go with the premium bundle in the middle also. So I'm not discouraging you from doing that, but I just went from the best to the least expensive at the same time. But whoever invited you can help you to make a decision about which one you want to go with for your health concerns and your efforts to remain healthy. So before we take a few minutes to take a couple of questions, Not sure that we have time. Oh yeah, we actually have time for a couple questions and maybe have time for maybe one of you to share your story. Take a screenshot of this, please. And know that next week we'll be discussing with Dr. Prasad Cancer Support Month. That begins in the month of August. It's World Cancer Support Month. And when I looked it up, not National Cancer Support Month, but World Cancer Support Month is the month of August. So take a screenshot and share this with anyone that you know that is a cancer survivor or someone who right now is going through cancer treatment. If they would like to hear from a scientist whose background is cancer, who taught doctors at the University of Colorado School of Medicine about nutrition and medicine, then you want to have them here for next week. And the reason you'll want to do that is because his research is phenomenal when it comes to taking the edge off of cancer treatment. Person going through chemotherapy, person going through radiation, whatever the case, you want to hear from Dr. Prasad when it comes to that. So take a screenshot of this and make sure that you share that with anyone that you care about. That's what we'll be talking about next week with Dr. Prasad. So let's go ahead and hear your stories and some of your questions. Song, go ahead, please. We'd love to hear from you, Song.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, for having me on the call. We're on a little vacation in Arkansas at the moment and shared the product with the lady that owns the B&B we're staying at. And I think she's on the call, actually.
Oh,
anyway,
wonderful.
I have so many stories, but one of my best stories that I think is the best, is one of the best, they're all good, is I had cancer in 2009, and I didn't find this product till 2014, right when they came out with it. And they wanted to give me a medicine to supposedly keep the cancer from coming back. Well, I finally fell off the fence after 2 or 3 years of them begging me to do that, and started taking a medicine. But before I took the medicine, they gave me a bone scan, and my bones were 20 years younger than me at the time. And so I started taking the medicine, took it for a year, and then there was time for another bone scan. And my bones then were called osteopenic, which the next step is osteoporosis. It means you have really weak bones with osteopenia as well. So I told my doctor, I'm not taking that anymore. He said, you'll never get your bone mass back. He said, we have something that can keep it the same. And I wanted to know the side effects of that one. And they told me I could lose my jawbone. So I turned that down too. And the next year I went in, it was osteopenic for 3 more years. And then I found this product. Literally 3 months after I started taking it, it was time for another bone scan. So I went in and got the bone scan, and guess what? I got my bones back.
Wow. Wow.
And that's the facts.
Wow. Wow. Song, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because that is a major problem when it comes to folks who are undergoing cancer treatment. Please make sure that you're here and share that story next week, because there'll be some more folks that will be here that will need to hear that song. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jonathan.
Wow. How incredible is that? Elizabeth, please go ahead.
Okay, Jonathan, I would turn my camera on, but my hair is not done.
Oh yeah, I hate when that happens.
No, I wanted to tell you about, first of all, my sister, who's 84 years old. I started her with a brain boost and, of course, microdaily. And in just a matter of weeks, she called me so excited because she could remember her Social Security number after not being able to do that for a long time. My own experience, about 50 years ago, when I was 27 years old, my doctor told me that I had marked redundancy of the left colon. So all my life, I've tried to protect my colon. When I learned about microdaily, I wanted to go back and look at that information and see what I could do with my colon. I could not remember the name of the doctor. 50 years ago, I could not remember his name. Also, I had trouble remembering 2 character actors that I know that I like, I could not remember their names, that I have to always ask my son. Well, after taking Micro Daily and the Brain Boost, I was able to remember my doctor's name. His name was Rudine.
Wow.
I was able to remember the names of the two character actors, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. So I know personally that brain function can be improved. And I haven't forgotten those names. I've been taking that Micro Daily now for 2 years. I will always take Micro Daily.
The things we take for granted, right? That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Gretchen. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Okay, so I've been going through my cancer, all that issues and all of that. And when they did a bone scan on me, remember last year, they was talking about all these negative things, and they said that I was showing signs of osteoporosis, and I mean, just giving me nothing but negative. But I had my bone scan done about it's about a month ago, and they said I have no signs of osteoporosis. Even where I broke my ankle in two places, I broke the tibia and fibula, and they said they did the entire scan of my whole body. So, I was just elated to hear that, because I've been really working on, trying to build back up my energy, get back, just lose the fatigue that comes from the radiation and all of that. And I was just so excited when I got those results. Then they had me do a brain scan because I had the TIA. So, at first he wanted to do the brain scan with contrast. And I remembered what one of the persons that was on, them talking about what the results were when you do contrast. And I looked at all the side effects that they said would come from it. And I said, no, I don't want to do the contrast. So they went on and did the scan without it. And he said it's totally back to normal. And that's from taking the brain boost and continuing to stay on my Micro Daily and my probiotics. And I mean, I'm still battling with the fatigue thing that kind of comes later in the day. So I just take a couple of more gummies. Instead of doing my powder, I take a few of those gummies, and it puts me right back where I need to be. So I'm super excited, and I can't wait to go back to the doctor and, find out what he's talking about, the surgeon, because he was talking about how well everything was healing. And he was just amazed how quickly after the surgery, how when he looked at the incision, how it had closed really well. And I wasn't having any issues like some of the persons that were coming in. So I was super excited.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear, Gretchen. Thank you very much for being willing to share that story. Please make sure you come back next week when we're talking about cancer support, because I'm sure that there will be a lot of folks that'll be on this call next week that can benefit from hearing your story. That's just amazing. And I think everybody needs to just maybe put that high on your list of priorities to make sure that anyone that that is going through cancer treatment right now, that there is something that can support them throughout the process. Someone who's recently gone through it that may be still dealing with some of the aftermath of it, they'll want to hear that. In fact, we have a story that we'll share with you next week also. This woman is down in Trinidad at this is Candace's aunt down in Trinidad. She had double mastectomy and major pain from the scar tissue. afterwards, and she left a voicemail. She sent a voice message describing what happened when she added microdaily to her supplement regimen. So that's a cancer survivor that did that. So make sure that you'll be back. We'll play that for you as well. I need to go ahead and make sure I take a brain booster that I don't forget. So Bernard, between you and me, we got to remember to play Candace's aunt's story next week for the cancer support call. It's just an audio and her picture. That's it. So, but you guys will want to hear that one. That's going to be a good one. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for sharing those additional stories. And this entire program was recorded. I have a question for you guys, though. Is there anybody that you know that could have benefited from hearing this presentation today? I mean, and just by show of your digital hands there, just raise your digital hand. How many of you know at least one person that would have benefited had they been here on this program today? So just raise your digital hand. Just stick it up there if you know of at least one person that could have benefited. And if you do, think about that. Just think about that and try to get them here next week, because knowing someone after the fact, it's like it's a moot point. It's going to take us at least 2 or 3 days before we even edit this down to a point where it's stays within a good hour and get rid of the extra garbage that should not have been said or mistakes that I've made. And by that time, you're going to forget all about the person that right now could have benefited from this presentation. So I'm going to encourage you to make sure that you do something about it now, this time. If you didn't get a screenshot of that last of next week's presentation, please take the screenshot right now. Please take the screenshot right now. I'm going to just put it up there again for you, and start sending that out to everybody that you know. Take a screenshot. Text it to people right away. Post it on your Facebook page right away. Send it to everybody that you know and get them here. It does no good to after the presentation.
Jonathan, can you make it a little small? It's real big and you can't see the whole screen.
Can't see the screen?
Well, you can see it, but it looked like it's just extremely big. We can't see the whole flyer. Unless my screen got something crazy going on.
It may be. It may be the resolution on yours, Bernard.
Okay.
Anybody else can please weigh in? Because I can't change it on my end.
I see my phone.
Okay.
I pressed standard, Bernard, and I was able to see the whole screen after that.
You press what?
I pressed standard, I'm sorry, side by side. And,
Okay, maybe I'll do that.
And I was able to see the whole thing.
Okay, that's maybe what it is.
Okay.
I see it just fine, just like it is on but I'm on my phone, so I don't know.
Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send that thumbnail to every legacy member at Engage, all the legacy team. I'll send the same thumbnail to everybody. Ask them for it. So even if you don't get the screenshot now, ask them for it. Send it out. Get folks here. We should have 200 or 300 people on the call for next week, just to make sure, because Dr. Prasad has done something extraordinary, folks, and we need to get the word out. So let's start right now, and everybody bring at least one person. If everybody brings at least one person next week, we got 150 people. So that'll just change everything right there. Okay. So thank you guys very much for being here, and I appreciate your kind attention. Dr. Prasad will be here next week. He was on vacation today. So he sent a message and apologized up and down and said that he wasn't going to be able to make it today, but he would be here next week. So if everything works out accordingly, we'll see him. Edith Hughes, are you making a comment, or are you telling us that you got somebody that you want to bring next week?
Somebody I want to bring next week. Thank you.
That's fine. So once again, folks, everything that you heard today is for education and information purposes only. This is not intended to be a substitute for a visit to your primary healthcare physician. Have enough advice. See you next week, everybody. Have a good day.